So I don't think internet writers get nearly as much credit as they deserve, um, considering that they do what they do for even less monetary gain than novelists or magazine writers would, if at all. Pretty much everything they do is for the sake of entertaining others and themselves and finding other writers who enjoy exploring similar topics, which also makes them a very underrated example when talking about discourse communities. And probably the best example of this I could think of would be the SCP Foundation. And for those of you not in the know, the SCP Foundation is this community-based collaborative fiction project that was first launched in January of 2008, so it's been going on for 11 years now. And it's dedicated to documenting the findings of a fictional organization by the same name that's dedicated to hunting anomalies, pretty much, and researching them. Because it's a site that runs almost entirely on user-made content, the SCP Foundation's core values can be boiled down to building a sense of community and encouraging its user base to contribute as much as possible, provided their submissions meet the standards of the site, because the third value is preserving the atmosphere of the fictional universe itself. Because even without a strict canon, which is a series of events that are like unanimously agreed to have happened within a single narrative, the SCP Foundation prides itself on being very tonally consistent. Even if there are multiple authors contributing to a work, they want it to feel whole, not fragmentary. So the big question is, how exactly do they reinforce these values in their works? Probably one of the clearest examples would be their writing contests. Circling back to the idea of the SCP Foundation encouraging user contribution as much as possible, the site has been hosting writing contests ever since 2009, both for official SCP articles and for Foundation Tales. And tales are these short stories that take place in the universe of the Foundation, but they abandon the pseudo-academic tone of a standard article in favor of a more straightforward narrative. And these contests are usually pretty easy to understand. Whoever submits the work that fits the given prompt best wins, and they're usually given a special place within the site canon, like being the first of a series. But they take it a step further, and just to ensure that nothing goes to waste, other submissions are repurposed into other articles or tales, but usually under different titles or with some edits, thus ensuring an ever-growing collection of source material. SCP-173, described in its article as a crudely constructed animate statue made of concrete, rebar, and spray paint with a tendency to break its victims' necks when not in their line of sight, is widely remembered as the first SCP ever written, with its creation become the standard SCP article format, which is as follows: item number, object class, special containment procedures, and description. Not only does this establish the structure of the majority of the work submitted to the Foundation website, but it also went a long way in establishing the tone of many future articles, that being clinical and almost academic. If they have any humor in them at all, it's usually very dry or sarcastic, because being outright funny would clash with that tone. As such, it would become the basis for the Foundation's insistence on, well, consistency. As time went on, the SCP Foundation community's constant need for fresh, original content to flesh out its universe even further, or just to breathe a spark of life back into the site itself, would call for additions to the standard article format when necessary, and one of these additions was the test logs. The first and foremost purpose of including test logs is to paint a clearer picture of an item's abilities, should the more word-heavy main article be difficult to understand or just not have elaborated on them well enough. So it's a way of editing the article without retroactively changing anything. For example, there's an SCP that is 978, which is a camera that photographs a subject's deepest desires, and it has one of the most notable extended test logs. Its test log demonstrates that 978 is capable of portraying both human and animal subjects' desires, to what extent, to what desires it can most effectively portray, things that were mentioned in passing in the article, but were never really elaborated on. And any reader wouldn't be able to understand the full scope of 978's abilities without the aid of the log. This is how the site's users help each other, pretty much. It is a vital addition to the article. You might be wondering after this, what impact has the SCP Foundation left on internet and popular media exactly? At the time of this recording, the SCP Foundation has 12 international branches, which are hubs dedicated to both translations of existing SCPs and original SCP articles. Other SCP media includes an independent video game under the title SCP Containment Breach, released by Finnish developer Jonas Rikkonen, I think, in April of 2012, and a Japanese light novel series titled SCP Foundation, Iris of the Mirror World, written and illustrated by Hifumi Shogo and Sidu, respectively. And this fine line between popularity and obscurity is what I think makes the SCP Foundation a notable discourse community. It's remained fairly separate from everyday pop culture, but it's still popular enough to have gained a fan following in not only the West, but in many other countries as well. And that's all I have to say about that.